Hey everybody, what's going on? It's PMOC at 86 Drive, and I haven't done a video about my Cayman GTS in a while, so I figured I'd give you guys an update on what my experience has been like. It's a beautiful day out here, so let's go for a drive. All right, we are out driving in the 718 Cayman GTS 4.0. What a mouthful that is. Let's just call it the Cayman GTS. But yeah, we are now past the 2,000 mile marker, and that means I can now open it up, can rev it up to red line if I want to. Break-in period is done. But anyways, can talk a little bit about some of the things that I have come to like, maybe even love about this Cayman GTS. And I think one of the first things I got to talk about, first thing that comes to mind, is the sound. This car just sounds amazing. You know, whether it's the induction sound as you approach and go past 4,000 RPM, the sound of the motor, sound of the exhaust, it's just all incredible. Such an incredible sounding car. And I guess now that I'm coming up behind somebody, not the best time to show off that sound, but I will find an opportunity to do so. But yeah, one of the most noteworthy things I would say about this car is the incredible sound that the flat six engine makes. And it's one of those things where, you know, you talk about, oh, people are being purists when they say you should only get the flat six motor in a Porsche. Don't get the, you know, flat four turbo engine because it doesn't sound as good. And, you know, I still think that's somewhat true. I do think that you can get a great value of a car in the lower trims, the base Cayman or the Cayman S that comes with the Turbo 4. But there's just no denying that the sound of the six-cylinder motor is just that much better. And, you know, at least in my mind, worth paying a premium for. speed in this car is so effortless. Yeah, I don't even have to downshift in order to get great acceleration out of this thing. I suppose, you know, you can downshift if you want more noise, but there's plenty of torque.
So the 4-liter engine that comes in the GTS makes a good amount of power. Enjoy the sights and sounds of my friend Oleg's GTS 4.0 running on the dyno. I don't know if it's optimistic, but his car made almost 400 horsepower at the wheels. Impressive.
I guess I can see why some people complain about the gearing. You know, you could just basically stay in third gear all day on a road like this. And, you know, the car performs fine. You get plenty of acceleration. But, yeah, then you don't get to shift very much. And I can see why people are disappointed by that, because it's such a joy to upshift and downshift. Just kind of work the gears. But because of the gearing and the way that most of these roads are, you just don't get that much of that experience. I mean, you can downshift just for the hell of it, but it's kind of unnecessary. The next thing I want to talk about that I like about this Porsche is the comfort and handling of this car. You know, it's surprisingly comfortable. It's a very good handling car, of course, you know, as all Porsches are known for. But what was surprising to me was how comfortable it is as kind of a daily driver. You could totally daily drive this car, and in fact, I drive it to work quite often, especially when I was trying to rack up the miles on this car and get through this break-in period. So, yeah, you know, the car is fairly composed and not all that bumpy. I was expecting that the car would be a little rough, a little firm in terms of suspension. And it is, you know, compared to, you know, something more plush like, say, a Camry or a Lexus. But, you know, in comparison to, say, my BRZ or my MR2, both of which are on coilovers, but, you know, configured in their softest damper settings to be, you know, as comfortable as possible, this Porsche is still more comfortable than those cars in their softest settings. So, a pleasant surprise for me that the ride comfort is quite good on this car. And of course, the handling is fantastic. The car is very grippy on these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Surprisingly so. You know, I wasn't expecting them to be all that great, but they seem to be quite good. I'm impressed. Another feature of this Porsche Cayman that I really enjoy is the auto blip function. The ability to just downshift and let the car blip the throttle for you and smooth out the shifts is really quite remarkable. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed by how smooth it is, how well it works, how kind of mindless it makes shifting. You know, I know some people are very sort of, I roll my own gears, you know, a real man knows how to downshift and rev match and all that kind of stuff. And I have to admit, I'm just not great at it. You know, I've practiced, I've done it. I can execute a decent downshift, but, you know, I'm not great. And this auto blip function it just kind of makes it kind of so easy and so convenient that why not use it, you know? Unless you really are that kind of macho guy that wants to do everything yourself and, you know, perfect the art of downshifting, you know, go for it. You can just, you know, run in normal mode and not have the auto blip feature turned on, but for me, it's a huge help. You know, it just makes all the downshifts super smooth, and I enjoy it. I think it's a great feature to have, and I don't mind it at all. Look at that, super smooth. Went from 6th to 5th gear, no big deal. Let's go 5 to 4. Woo! Good times. Yeah, even down to 1st gear, it just smooths out all the shifts. Makes you look like a pro. Along the same lines, the way that the accelerator and the clutch and the throttle, the way everything works, it's just so smooth. I feel like the car is doing things in the background to help you out. So, you know, if you're stopped at a light and it's time to go and you start to accelerate, but maybe you don't give it enough gas, you run the risk of maybe stalling the motor. I feel like sometimes the car will help you out. It'll give it a little extra throttle, you know, through the drive-by-wire system, and it'll kind of give you a little extra revs to help you launch the car a little. And, you know, I know most people won't want to admit this, but about 2 or 3 times now I have stalled the car, you know, trying to get the car moving from a stop, and maybe I'm on a hill, or, you know, maybe I'm tired and I'm just not thinking about it all the way, and I'll stall the car. And one of the things this car does is it will actually kind of help you out there. If you clutch in and get on the brake, the car will restart itself without you having to, you know, go through that whole process. So kind of, you know, maybe if your ego's a little bruised, the car will kind of save you a little bit, ease the pain, if you will. So there's lots of little convenience features like that that I think make daily driving this car much easier. The next thing I like about this car is the shifter. I have to say the shift action is quite nice. You know, it's not super notchy, but it's also not like super loose and flimsy. It's got a substantial feel to it, so, you know, there's a certain pleasure that you get from shifting the gears. And Porsche has done a really good job with the manual transmission in this car. Now, my friend Oleg has installed the GT4 short shifter kit. It comes standard on the GT4, but it is basically plug and play. It's a part that you can just drop in on the Cayman GTS. And so he did that, and he says that it makes a big difference. He really likes it. So that's something that I'm thinking about doing as well. I actually haven't tried his short shifter kit. I've been meaning to do that, and one of these days I will hopefully get behind the wheel of his Cayman GTS and get to try it. And I have a feeling that I will enjoy it, and then shortly thereafter we'll probably have to spend some more money upgrading my shifter as well. But we shall see. For now, though, I really do like the feel of this shifter as it comes standard on the Cayman GTS. But, you know, it's always one of those situations where you feel something that's even better, and then of course you're going to want that. So for now, maybe ignorance is bliss. Oh yeah, that induction noise. So good. One of the other things that I just noticed when I started taking the car through the canyons was a really cool feature, I think, that I'd never heard about in everything that I've seen in terms of videos, reviews, reading articles or things about the car. Nobody seems to mention this, but I feel like the seatbelt adjusts itself as you're in corners. You know, when you're just driving around normally like this, the seatbelt is loose and, you know, it comes out, lets you move around normally, which is fine. But then when you are cornering and, you know, start to pull some G's, I feel like the system somehow starts to like cinch the seatbelt for you. It actually tightens up on you and holds you in your seat, keeps your upper torso from moving. And, you know, it's just incredibly reassuring to me for some reason. You know, it holds you in place when you need it to, and it's just fantastic. You know, I was just really impressed when I noticed that happening. And I'd never seen anyone else mention that before. And it's certainly something, you know, I've heard about maybe in other cars, but I just didn't know that the Porsche did this. And I like it. I think it's pretty awesome. I don't know. Am I making this up in my mind? Does nobody else notice this? It's just weird. I've never heard anybody else talk about it, but I feel like it's a real thing. I hope it's a real thing. I hope I'm not just making it up in my mind, but you know, I've felt it time and time again as I'm going through some of these, you know, canyon runs. You definitely feel like the seatbelt is adjusting itself as you're driving. So, pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm going to talk about one more thing that is pretty obvious, and that is I like the way the car looks. The styling of the Cayman in particular, you know, it's a gorgeous car. I don't know. Some people maybe they like the 911 more, but at least with the current generation of the 911, it's a little big. You know, it just feels like a big car. It looks like a big car. You park that next to an older, you know, an old school 993 or a 964, a 930. Those are all, you know, fairly small cars. And then you put a 992 next to them and it just looks huge. And I don't know. It just looks a little bit bulkier than it should in my mind. So, personal preference here, but I feel like the Cayman, the design of it is just a little more slender, sleek looking. I just like it. So it's a very stylish design, and one of the things that I love about this car. One of the other things that I just love about this car is the color. The shark blue paint that I chose, it's just fantastic. I don't know. I just love it so much. And every time I see the car, it makes me smile. I'll be driving along and, you know, from the driver's seat, you know, you're looking out through the windshield. You can see the front fenders of the car. And you can see that shark blue paint. And it just, yeah, it looks fantastic. So, constantly putting a smile on my face when I just look out and I can see the shark blue paint, you know, even from within the car. And, you know, I get a lot of compliments on this paint. And it's kind of funny because, you know, you're kind of like, well, what do you say? You know, you're like, well, thank you, you know, but it's not like I did anything special. It's not like I did anything other than check the box and say, yes, I want this paint color. But, you know, it's almost like people are complimenting you and saying, you know, that's a really nice color. And I suppose, you know, maybe just the gracious thing is to say thank you, but it feels a little weird, if I'm being honest, to say something like that. But, you know, I feel like not responding is probably rude, so I guess I'll just keep saying thanks. But yeah, it's so eye-catching. I feel like people see this car and they see the color and it really stands out. And it's funny because I've been to a couple of car shows or car meets where people, you know, will literally walk up to this car and be like, oh, look at this color, this blue is fantastic. And then they want to like take a picture next to it. So, you know, it's just one of those things that's noteworthy. It catches everyone's eyes and it gets a lot of attention, which, you know, I have to admit, I kind of enjoy. But yeah, the styling of the car, the Cayman in general, it's such a good looking car. And you know, it hasn't really deviated that much from the 981 generation. And I thought that was a fantastic looking car as well. When I had the chance to rent one and drive one a couple years back, I really thought it was a great looking car. And it just kind of sealed the deal for me in terms of falling in love with the Cayman and wanting the Cayman versus the 911. And I think this is the last thing on the list of what I love about the Cayman GTS, and that's the way that it makes you feel. You know, it's just such an experience, and I suppose that is, in essence, the main thing about owning a Porsche. Right? It's the big picture. It's the overall experience. What owning a Porsche does for you. It just makes you feel a certain way. It's just this wonderful driving experience. For most people, I think it's this dream of having, you know, kind of the ultimate sports car, a car that, you know, has power, has handling, all of the performance attributes, but also, you know, it's sleek, it's beautiful, the design is stunning, and it just makes you feel like you're doing something special. You're a part of some special experience. And Porsche delivers that in spades, I think. So that's just one of the things that just really makes the ownership experience special, right? It's just that big picture overall experience of driving enjoyment, the pleasure of driving and responsive handling, good brakes, the acceleration, the power of the motor, the sound of the motor, all of those things combine to make such a wonderful experience. And it's just, you know, it burns into your mind. And I can see that, you know, that's why people fall in love with these cars. And, you know, maybe it becomes a bit of a cult. You know, maybe you become addicted to that kind of high. But, yeah, what a wonderful experience it can be. That's what people love about Porsches, and that's what I love about this one. So, there you have it. All right. I think that'll do it for this episode. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with what I've said here. What do you like about your Porsche? Or what do you dream about? You know, if you're dreaming about owning a Porsche, what is it that you want to experience when you have one, when you drive one? Yeah, I'm curious to see what people's perceptions are, those that have Porsches and those that don't have one yet. Let me know in the comments below. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care.